Yo, so after I reacted to the recent Dr. Umar review, I saw him. I recommended that he had an encounter with Roland Martin. Interesting. I know Roland Martin is not a big fan of people like Dr. Umar, Tariq Nasheed, and figures like that because all they do is like create unnecessary division within the black community and are just like they're overall just really harmful to the black community. They peddle ideas that are just really self-damaging and bad. So like Roland Martin, obviously being a intelligent human being, does not was not a fan of that. So they had a like I believe they had a debate here. The video is titled like Roland Martin's one-on-one with Dr. Umar, and I think Roland Martin reached out to him over this after after his first interview on the Breakfast Club. Like I'm pretty sure that first interview was what put him like on the map, and ever since, like a lot of people have been talking about him. So he's been around, and he's still around. Oh yeah. Anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead and press play.
All right, folks. Dr. Umar Johnson recently was on 105.1 FM out of New York, The Breakfast Club with DJ Envy, Angela Yee, and Charlemagne the God. During the interview, Johnson talked about a whole range of issues. It led to him being the talk of Black Twitter last week. And a lot of people were questioning his educational credentials.
Now, people ask me, what can we expect from a Donald Trump White House for Black America? And the answer is real simple. You can expect exactly what you got from a Obama White House. Absolutely nothing. Black people know.
All right, that first line, riddled in complete sheer stupidity. Um, this whole absolutely nothing change is like retarded. He's appealing to this like both sides bullshit where it's like, Uh, the Democrats said the Republicans are equally as racist, so it doesn't matter who's president, they're all supporting the white supremacy. Listen, there's racism and white supremacy like advocacy within the Democratic Party, but it's nowhere nearly as prominent in the Republican Party. And the thing is, when it comes to Trump, if anything, he significantly made things worse. Um, Especially given his rhetoric, his tough on crime rhetoric, and which emboldens white supremacists. All of his denouncing of BLM after like all of the anti-black police killings and all the riots going on. How Trump will laser focus on all of the riots and looting and everything, and target that, and not even discuss any of the real issues surrounding why people are rioting in the first place. Uh, and the whole tough on crime thing is a historically racist thing anyway. Like it's always like it's like one of the best dog whistles that appeals to like how the unfortunately majority of black people are engaging in violent crime. So like this whole tough on crime rhetoric negatively affects black people because when you think crime, you think black person because of the disparities, which we already know there are socioeconomic reasons for why that happens anyway. So yeah, tough on crime rhetoric, emboldening white supremacists. It was an his the way he targeted Snap, Lord Jesus, like we black people are already in poverty, which also feeds into why there's so much crime. On top of that, the fucking the fact that there are a lot of black people in crime, not in crime, a lot of black people in poverty, um, they're gonna need fucking food stamps. So like, what Trump did and his administration did, they tightened requirements to make it so that fewer people would be eligible for SNAP aid, which is really bad for a group of people who are disproportionately in poverty. So I'd say a Trump administration did nothing but make things worse for the black community. Oh, oh, but what about his first step law bill? What Oh yeah, that first step thing that like was kind of sort of supposed to make it so that so that people that have been incarcerated would be eligible to leave prison early or have shorter sentences or certain drugs or whatnot. It's supposed to do a litany of different things. Not nearly enough for what I want. I want far more. I need better. I would like far better programs to help rehabilitate people who are in prison, and also end the war on drugs altogether. Period, because it's really fucking stupid and does nothing but more harm than good anyway. But this whole first step act did supposed to lighten a few sentences, make things a wee bit better, make it so that criminals are able to leave early on. I forget what the criteria was that they were supposed to meet in order to be able to leave prison early. And unfortunately, it only affected a small group of people, and it will only do that at the federal level anyway. And the people that were eligible to leave prison early, um, couldn't really do that easily because of one small problem. One small little problem. Risk and needs assessment. Basically what that is it's like an evaluation of sorts where like you're only eligible to leave if you have been proven to not be at risk of reoffending if they set you free. That's essentially like what that is. I already, without even like looking into it, I already know that there's a lot of racial discrimination within this practice anyway. I bet you if I research this whole thing, I will find nothing but racial discrimination. So, yeah, it's not good. Yeah. So that one little decent thing that Trump did gets counterattacked by the quote decent thing, the same thing that he did. It's bad. It's bad. It's like the dude takes one step forward and takes five steps backwards. It's not even getting into all the other like weird like inconsistencies and how much they backpedaled on some of the things that were in that bill anyway.
No, they're not American, but they will fight like hell to protect that identity because they don't want to be identified with who they really are, and that's being African. As long
What?
as you have a skill, you can always feed your family. But if all you got is college degrees, you might end up in the unemployment line. I'm a psychologist. Ain't too many black people running around looking for a psychologist to reveal all the skeletons in their closet.
All right, folks, joining us right now,
What?
Dr. Umar Johnson. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
First and foremost, it was amazing looking at this whole reaction. I mean, I'm sitting here, again, people asking all kind of questions, things are blowing up, and so many people jumped on saying he's not a real doctor. Okay, where did you graduate from, and you got your PhD?
My undergraduate education was from Millersville University. 3 degrees, political science, psychology, master's in school psychology. Subsequent to that, Pennsylvania certification as a school psychologist, which I've been for almost 20 years. After that, I got my educational leadership master's degree and principal certificate from Lehigh University in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And I earned my doctorate degree from the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, American Psychological Association approved program, one of the top psychology training programs on the East Coast. 6 degrees in all, and anyone can lift up a telephone and call and verify those degrees.
So when you see folks who question your degrees, your response?
It's because my narrative is a whole lot different from the average mainstream black scholar.
What?
I don't parrot the narrative that the American social order wants black scholars to parrot. I tell the truth. I don't scratch unless I itch, and I don't dance unless I like the music. And because they're not used to having someone with a traditional education posit non-traditional views, people will automatically start to question his credentials.
I don't know why this feels like pivoting to me. There's something about this that just feels like he's like dodging the question. I don't know, maybe that's just me.
Credentials. How did he get this far believing what he believes in? Well, you have to play the spook who sat by the door. When I got accepted into those 3 universities, they didn't know what I believed in. They didn't know what I stood for. But as time went on, it revealed itself. But I'm unapologetically African, so I'm not really concerned with what people think about me personally. I have a job to do, and that is to awaken the sleeping consciousness of African people, not just in America, but all across the world.
One of the things that you said during the interview, you said that Mandarin was one of the official languages in South Africa.
Yes, sir.
And others said you were dead wrong.
Yes, because I didn't clarify that I was speaking of it being an official language in the public school system of South Africa. So I should have clarified that Mandarin is an official language in the Republic of South Africa's school system.
All right.
It's not an official language in the country. It's an official language in the
I
school
was really
system.
about to search that up for a minute. I was like, why does this sound like bullshit?
That's my responsibility.
Okay. I guess,
Also,
I'll give
during
him the
that
benefit of the
particular
doubt.
interview, you talked about a variety of issues that also got people talking. One of them dealt with your views on interracial marriage.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And so
That's really bad.
And so explain that for folks who did not hear it.
Certainly. Simply put, any black man who is with a woman who's not an African herself is going to have a difficult time getting respect from me. I believe black men need to be with black women. The black family is under attack. Only 1 out of every 4 black women gets married.
You see what Dr. Umar likes to do? This nigga likes to co-opt fucking woke language to try and promote racism, basically. That's what this is. And like fascism light. This really is one of the main tenets of fascism, right? He's speaking from a hierarchical perspective. Like he's placing his own people in value above another group of people. That's a fascist ideology. That's a hierarchical ideology. It's one of the major tenets of fascism. That's why I call him a fascist, because he engages in hierarchical language and otherizing language. And like he literally demonizes race mixing and interracial relationships. This is exactly what Nazis do. Nazis and white supremacists do this shit. But he's doing it, but when he does it, he uses woke language to do that to make it more palatable to a black audience. It's really manipulative, in my opinion. It's really, and this is what makes him so especially dangerous, because a lot of black people will fall into this little trap where they think they're being super ultra woke by being fascists.
Black woman is last likely to get married. She's the last married, the first divorced. We have what? 2/3 of our children being raised by working class and impoverished single black female-led households. The destruction of a nation begins in the home of its families. And if we want to save black people, we have to save the black family. And in order to do that,
the black
men
family
have to commit themselves to black women.
You see what I mean here, right? Right. He's framing quote saving the black family as distancing yourself from white people and not intermingling with white people. You want to know how you save the black family? Make our lives better. That's really it. You want to save black families? Promote social programs that help poor black families. That's how you save black families. Not promoting the act of not shoving your dick in a white girl's pussy. What the fuck are we? Okay.
So if that's the case, you're saying President Barack Obama to get your respect because his dad married a white woman?
Oh, not at all.
Would Harry Belafonte?
Not at all. I want to be very clear about something. As Pan-Africanists, the product of an interracial union is an African. I have heroes who are biracial. Some of the grandfathers of Pan-Africanism were of mixed racial ancestry. You don't blame a child for how they got here.
But I'm asking you this here. Harry Belafonte has a white wife. No respect for him?
It would be very, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter your social status.
So no. I didn't say social. I'm talking about the one who put the work.
Right, but you put him out.
No. I'm asking you. So Harry Belafonte,
Yes, sir.
Sidney Poitier, Julian Bond, Vernon Jordan.
And you're naming all them to say what?
No, these are all African American men who have
done some good things.
No, who married white women. But you said
they have done some good
white woman
thing.
will not get your respect.
You see what Dr. Umar's like, they've done some good things, but they're in relationships with white women, so they're destroying black people. What?
Yeah, go ahead.
And what I'm telling you is this. I don't care who you name. I don't care how much work you did for black people. Your greatest commitment to black people is being committed to a black woman. It is still a contradiction. No matter how much you think you did for the struggle, if you really were concerned with black people, you would have committed yourself to a black woman. So it doesn't matter how successful they...
Why? What does that do for black people? Please tell me. Like, tangibly, what does that do for black people besides establishing some fucking otherizing, like, idea of having melanin in your bloodline? Woo, yay, melanin will exist 30 years in the future. Look, I know a lot of black people are getting shot by cops and dying in poverty and everything. But you know what's really important? The fact that there's high levels of melanin in existence in the United States. He's not talking about real problems here. He's talking about ideology here. This is a fascist.
They are. It doesn't matter how great you may claim them to be. At the end of the day, you didn't think enough about your own people to marry a woman who looks like you.
Frederick Douglass.
Yes, sir. An ancestor of mine.
So when you say ancestor, what does that mean?
Let me break it down.
Because, again, some have said you tried to claim that you are a descendant of Frederick Douglass.
Okay, so let's deal with that.
So
how do you know this? How does he know this?
Here's a statement from the family. Let me go ahead and read this, please. The family of Frederick Douglass has received numerous inquiries about Umar Johnson questioning his relationship to Frederick Douglass. There have also been questions about his legitimacy of his PhD and the handling of the donations he's received for his school that he is promoting. We can tell you with 100% certainty that he is not a descendant of Frederick Douglass. With that being said, Mr. Johnson is very careful not to bill himself as a descendant, but he doesn't correct people when they refer to him in this way. He calls himself a blood relative, which is a nebulous reference designed to make people think he is a descendant. We have researched his explanation of being a blood relative to the great abolitionist. Some of the information he provides is accurate, but an extremely important piece of his explanation with regards to a documented relative of Frederick Douglass is false. The information he recites correctly is from the public record, so his knowledge of our family ancestry is far from definitive proof.
Two things there.
Be like
One, he's not a descendant of Frederick Douglass. Okay? I would concur with that.
Source?
All right? But then, two, you also heard that some of the things he says is correct. So the question becomes, he's either related or he's not.
What?
Okay?
So are you related?
I'm about to answer your question.
Okay.
Allow me to do that.
This is
I am a blood relative of Frederick Douglass. My name is on the family tree. We have a family reunion every 2 years. What they're talking about, and I want to make sure you're clear, they're talking about whether or not I come through the loin of Frederick Douglass, which I do not, nor have I ever claimed. Okay? I have more videos on YouTube than any other scholar. I speak around the world more than any other scholar. Show me where I've ever said I was a descendant. I've only claimed one thing, kinsman. How am I kinsman? If you ever read any of the autobiographies of Frederick Douglass, he talks about growing up on Tuckahoe Creek with Cousin Stephen. Cousin Stephen is Stephen Bailey, Dr. Umar Johnson's 4 times great-grandfather, whose grave I just visited last week. I go every year. Okay, that's my 4 times great-grandfather. He married my 4 times great-grandmother, Caroline Wilson Bailey. From that union came my 3 times great-grandfather, George Washington Bailey, the first black public school teacher on Eastern Shore, Maryland. He married Grandmom Annie. They had Grandmom Caroline. Okay, she had Grandma Vivian. Grandma Vivian married a Spanish-speaking Cuban immigrant, Grandpop Cicero. They had Grandmom Ida, who's still alive, who married James Johnson, who had my father Jamal, who married my mama Barbara, and from that union I was born. I am a blood of Bailey. I am not married in. What they're talking about is strictly descendancy, something I've never claimed. Am I akin? Do I directly come from the loin of the first cousin and potentially half brother of Frederick Douglass? And the reason I
What?
say potentially, the slave master who owned our family, a white man named Aaron Anthony,
Dog.
raped Frederick's mother and raped Stephen's mother, my ancestor. And there's significant evidence to suggest that. Some people could still argue, though, that they were not brothers because it's not conclusive. Fine, throw that out. I'm still a kinsman because I come through the blood of his first cousin.
You talked about, again, respect.
Well, I come through the blood of his first cousin, so I might as well be related, right? What the fuck? What are we talking about? Why? He... This guy is so insecure, bro. He looks at, like, great black leaders. He's like, man, it would be so cool if I was, like, really related to them. Let's trace back, my lineage. I don't know if this is true or not. He might be telling the truth, but still, it's still pointless. And useless, even. It doesn't mean anything, really. I don't know why he clings to this meaningless thing. It's just so weird.
Disrespect
No,
for
no,
my people.
I'm not talking about that. Do you respect Frederick Douglass?
Obviously, yes.
But he had a white wife.
He did.
So that's what I'm trying to
I'm gonna clarify.
Why is that an issue? Why is that if you put in the work and you have the history, who cares who you marry?
I already answered that question.
Exactly.
I told you I don't care how much work you put in. If you don't commit yourself to a black woman, ultimately you wasn't totally committed to the struggle.
Even Frederick Douglass.
Even Frederick
Why?
Douglass has to be criticized, as I did on the.
What does that do? This is the same fucking purity, like, rhetoric that Nazis and white supremacists engage in. All he cares about is a pure bloodline of blackness. But he's using woke language to promote. This is... You can't shake me off of the fact that he's a fascist. You can't convince me that he's not a fascist. After all of this, like, he's engaging in the same exact language that white supremacists engage in. He believes in this, like, innate superiority of being purely, like, 100% black. Which is not entirely true, by the way. If you're black in America, you are... I'm sorry, I guarantee you, if you were a black person born in America, you are not purely black. I'm sorry, that is just a fact. Why? Obviously slave rape, and from what I heard, don't quote me on this, I believe there was a lot of forced intermingling between Native Americans and African slaves. So, like, I believe that's why a lot of African Americans here who were born in America have, like, lineage that traces back to indigenous people, indigenous Americans. So black purity doesn't exist. So he's appealing to something that doesn't even, like, really matter or has any value whatsoever. What's actually valuable? Making lives better for impoverished black folks. Solving the police brutality problem. Solving challenging racial discrimination and fighting back and pushing back against all the anti-black rhetoric and all the suppression of black history and American history. It's America's horrible history of its mistreatment of black folk. All kinds of things. That's what matters more to me than this pure bloodline that Dr. Umar loves so much.
Breakfast Club. Now, it has to be put in context. He didn't marry the white woman until he was an old man, after his wife, Anna Murray Douglas, of 50 years, a blue-black chocolate woman through whom all my cousins were born. He was an old man when he did it, but nonetheless, he did it. And yes, he has to be criticized on that, because a black man needs to be with a black woman, and it is a contradiction.
Why?
I don't care how much work you think you've done for black folks to not commit yourself to a black woman.
I'll tell you 1 second. I got more questions when we come back.
I would argue the reason black men marry white women...
Like, there would be a literal black Superman, right? Who gets the Infinity Gauntlet. He snaps his fingers and just racism just disappears. Like police brutality is just gone. America is completely egalitarian. Black and white people are completely and totally on equal footing. There's no racial discrimination whatsoever. You just removed all of that shit with the snap of a finger. If that black man married a white woman, Dr. Umar will do nothing but cry, piss, whine, and scream and shame him to the ends of this earth. Dr. Umar will be a skeleton in his grave, like screaming, just cursing this horrid black superhero who dared put his dick in a white woman.
Is because they wish they were white themselves, and having the white man's prize, his queen, is a psychological symbol to myself that I am equal to him.
We're back with Dr. Umar Johnson. In that particular statement, the family also addressed this here. You talked about taking over the buildings or the land of a black school that was shut down.
Yes, sir.
HBCU
St. Paul's College.
And you were raising money for it. First of all, how much money has been raised, and what's the status of that project?
Well, St. Paul's has been sold. Approximately 3 to 5 months ago, I was told by the auction company in charge of the sale that it was been sold to a developer.
So how much money was raised? What the people gave? All kinds of people gave. How much was raised, and what's the status of that?
$700,000, and the status is we're still looking for a school, and the status is my start date for FDMG will be 8/21/18, or if at all, it may be delayed to 8/21/19, which is the anniversary of the Nat Turner War.
When you say looking for a school, why not start a charter school? I mean, you can start a school.
Because charter schools are owned by the state, and I'm a Pan-Africanist. I believe what is to be done for black people must be done by black people. Why do I want a charter school?
So you want a private school?
Exactly, independent school.
Lauren.
So the question of interracial marriage, I
Yes,
mean,
ma'am.
come on, man. You're too smart for this. We got 43.
Is he
we got
really?
43 million black people in this country.
And that
we got
means
over
what?
190 million.
He
white
actually
people.
is
You're gonna
too
sit
smart
here
for
and
that.
say that if
He,
a black
he's
person,
really
white
just
person-
he's really just like all in on this for ideological purposes, his own purposes. Whatever those purposes are, I don't know. Actually, he might partially be kind of fucking insane, to be honest. Christ.
Get married. A black person, a white person get married. One can't understand the other person's struggle. You've seen Tim Wise, right? You've seen Reverend Wallace. You've seen white people who understand racism very well.
That doesn't mean we're going to do anything about it.
The other thing that is obviously true is they understand racism when you see things like the murder of Medgar Evers, like the murder of Martin Luther King. They understand racism just
And what
fine.
did they do
They
about it?
understand us gaining just fine, and that's why murder happens.
What do you mean by
right?
they?
So the idea that somehow a white person can't understand
How do
our
you know they're not
struggle,
doing
I
anything
don't
about
care
it?
less what they understand. I'm
No
asking
way.
you, what have they done systematically
He already
to
told
improve
you that.
the opportunities
He
of white
already
folks?
told you
He
that.
did not tell
Oh,
me
yes,
that.
you did tell
He
tell
did
you
not
that.
tell me that.
You're gonna
All
tell
white
me
people
that
don't
guys
have
like
systematic
Tim Wise
power.
and Reverend
Like
Wallace don't
especially
understand
core white
racism?
people.
Why?
They don't
They
understand racism.
can barely do
Articulating
anything.
racism,
So
but what has he done to
there are no white
systematically
people that understand race in
eliminate it?
America.
There's not a white
people.
person
There's
in
no white
America.
people that understand
second.
race in America.
One second.
There's not a white person.
Them going to Eugene.
There's not a white person in America who has ever worked to systematically eliminate the white privilege that they benefit from vis-a-vis your oppression.
That's
You
fucking
know,
stupid.
190
That is a lie.
million people in
That's so
America.
stupid.
So-
That is not even close to true. There are so many white people that are actively anti-racist. John Brown, for example, and there are a lot of white people that I know of personally who are like actively anti-racist and are activists, like literally just actually touching grass and doing legitimate activism to fight systemic racism among other social issues as well. This is it's bullshit. Dr. Umar is talking like right out of his ass.
We're not going to go there. We're not. I haven't.
Called me a liar, and you're cool.
Well, it's a fact that you're lying. It's a fact that you're lying. It's a fact that you're
I
lying.
understand you.
Coon
did
rhetoric.
say-
To say that.
No, everybody, 1 second. Several things I don't allow. I don't allow the N-word. I don't allow coon. We can talk to one another and disagree, but I do not use racial epithets against
And
black
that's
people.
fine, but he called me a
no,
liar.
No.
So the language needs to be watched on both
Racial
sides.
epithets will not be used on this show
And that's fine.
by anybody.
But how we talk to each other needs
you
to
can
be
say
up.
whatever you want, but no racial epithets will be used on this show about black people to black people. Eugene, your question.
Damn.
So, from your paradigm, from your perspective,
Damn.
Civil Rights Act
Roland
isn't an
Martin,
act
shut that down
of white
quick.
folk stepping up on behalf of black folk. Current criminal justice reform legislation moving isn't a current act of white folks stepping on behalf of black folk. Folk that funded the civil rights movement in the 50s and 60s isn't an act of white folks stepping up on behalf of black folk. I'm sorry, as an American, because I define myself as an American, an African American.
I'm sure you do.
I live in a country that moves forward together. And I say that as a Republican. We move forward together. Yes, we have individual struggles. Yes, we have struggles.
Okay.
Yes, we have.
Fuck
yes,
you.
no. Yes, we have. We have systematic disproportionality.
Finish in 15 seconds. And
We have systematic struggles, and together as a country, moving forward to defeat those struggles.
Really? So, based on what you said, I want you to give me examples of white folk, not individuals, but systematically. Excuse me.
Why can't they be individuals?
I know you can't wait.
What's why? What's wrong with the individuals?
Okay, I'm going. Okay.
I like how he had to narrow it down to that because he knows it get blown out with the quickness if he left that out.
The Civil Rights Act, Congress literally sits behind us. The Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act.
Are you
Both
aware?
of them.
Are you aware?
Hey, can I?
Both of them.
Oh, he's right though. That is true.
Scott Bolden.
Quick. I think the terminology and the narrative being used is a little misleading, not from you, but from this dialogue right here.
Okay.
You know, it's one thing to sympathize with the struggle. It's another one to empathize with the struggle.
Yeah.
Very
I
different.
know a lot of white
When you
people that
talk
have
about
empathy
marriage
for
being
it.
a political choice, and that one of the arguments that you made that I tend to agree with is that if you don't marry a black woman, then she can never support and comfort and value your day-to-day struggle as a black man. That being said, I do think that the level of the rhetoric that you use in regard to your Pan-Africanism is difficult for many of us, quote, in the mainstream to get our arms around. But this issue about black men and white women in the civil rights struggle is not a new discussion. My mother was a civil rights activist in Chicago, and she would often complain privately that, one, you can't sleep white and talk black, if you will. And that's always been
I mean, yeah, that's actually true. Here's the thing, like, I don't get why. Jesus, I'm trying to articulate with this the best way I can. I had it in my head and I forgot. Like yeah, it's true that like a black man that marries a white woman, like, of course she won't actually understand, firsthand understand the struggle that black people face. Like, she can do all the studying in the world and really get a full grasp and get the full picture of all the systemic racism that went on in this country. But she'll never really understand. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's not a point against the marriage. It's just, that's just kind of the dynamic. Doesn't mean she can't get it. Like, when I'm using understand as actually understand, meaning she won't feel it. Like, the only way, the closer she'll get to feeling it is being empathetic towards it. If she's a human being that cares enough about other human beings, right?
in the American struggle, African American struggle with ourselves.
Yes, sir.
The other thing is that we struggle with our own psychology about self-love and otherwise. And if we get our arms around that, that does make sense.
Okay.
But you would have to say that you know 190 million people.
But you're being too
One second.
You would have to claim
Answer,
that.
one
Individuals
second.
don't
Answer the
matter.
question.
You'd have to claim
No,
that.
go ahead and respond. Go ahead.
And I agree with my brother's
Scott.
comments. Brother Scott. He brought up the Civil Rights Bill. But what he did not talk about in relation to the Civil Rights Bill is there were two words included in that bill that ultimately served to take away from black people what that bill was intended to deliver. They added gender and they added sexual orientation.
What?
And as a result of that, white women and homosexuals have been able to strip black America from the intended gains.
Oh my
of the
God,
Civil
I'm
Rights
so
Act.
sick
There
of
was
this
still
fucking
racism.
minority infighting. Because Dr. Umar does this too. He believes in this homosexuality and like gender stuff are left-wing white supremacy, and it's being used to destroy the black male or some shit, and it's fucking stupid. There's no data on this. There's no way you can actually substantiate that as a purely ideological dumb fuck rhetoric that he uses to try and malign a community that he just hates. He just hates the community, and he doesn't want it in the black community because he wants pure black Fascism. He just likes fascism.
In that bill, if you will study that history.
So Umar, your question was, has anyone black ever systematically done? I mean, has anyone white ever systematically done anything?
Systematically. White America.
So LBJ would be the answer for that, because that's the government.
No, I don't think you heard the question.
That's a systematic move.
No, you didn't hear the question. No, you did not. No, you didn't.
Yeah,
you're so quick to defend white folks that you're not listening.
No, I'm not
What?
trying to defend white folks.
45 seconds, so restate the question and give the answer. Okay. Got 45.
Also, I forgot to mention, when he does that, he ignores the fact that there are trans and gay black people. So, like, yeah, framing that whole thing around, like, white supremacy is just dishonest. It really is.
All right, let's get an answer.
The question was, what has white America done?
Right.
Not individuals. Systematically. You won't even let me finish.
Yeah, because you're
that in love with white folks, you won't even let me finish.
Finish literally 20 seconds.
There is no bigger system than the
20 seconds, I'll finish.
Go.
And in 20 seconds, I would say that the panel that you have here, who are extremely intelligent, do not represent the everyday black man and woman struggles, and then because of that, they can articulate.
And you represent 43 million people in this country? I don't think so.
Right.
Weekdays on TV One.
I will never lie to you.
Oh my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no. That ain't
All
no
right.
cutting, boo.
I think that was it, right?
No, that
That was the whole thing, right? Let me check. Sorry. Yeah, it seems that was it. Huh. God, I was hoping for more. There's probably other. Well, I should search his channel to see if there's any more Dr. Umar stuff. I didn't know there were other people on that panel though. I thought it was just Roland and Dr. Umar. I think it started with the with him questioning Dr. Umar, and then it was just like, you know, the open panel kind of discussion. And you know, I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, Dr. Umar is a very interesting human being. He's a piece of shit, garbage, bad for the black community, awful. We don't need that kind of ideology in the black community. We can do much better without it, and we can strut on forward without that shit. It's not helpful at all in any way. All it does is create division and unnecessary, like, fighting. It's just bad. I don't like it. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, please like, comment, subscribe, all that wonderful, good, lovely stuff. And give your mother a nice, sweet kiss on the cheek and tell her it was from me. Anyway, that is all. I am done, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.
Weed, every day smoke weed. We smoke weed every day. We every day smoke weed. We smoke weed every day. Smoke weed, we smoke weed every day. Every weed, smoke weed every day. Smoke weed every day.